Experienced team this is, Earl. Columbia Turbo Grips, and Quinn gets the strike in the first as we look at their lineup from Contour Power Grips. It's brought to you by the pioneers in the finger grip industry. More pros choose Contour Power Grips, and you should too. Quinn, Bush, Nicewaner, Peters, and Kretzer. Now, first frame for team unsponsored, Graylon, Clagett.
Easy spare, only the 2-pin, shouldn't be any problem at all. And the idea for these guys right now is not to realize where they're at. Just keep bowling like they did in the first match. Get up there and make some good shots, make your spares, and they'll be all right. They've got their hands full. You already mentioned, Bob, that they're going against a team that's been around for a long time. These guys are very familiar with the lane condition and with their own game. What I mean by the lane condition is the fact that they've competed in 12 World Team Challenges before as a team and made the match play 11 of those 12 times. So they're a very successful team besides.
Bob Bush will fill the 2nd and 7th frames for our #1 seed. Working on the strike in the first from Quinn. This team, Columbia Turbo Grips, 8-2 in match play, Earl. They're from Dayton, Ohio, and very powerful.
No question. They have a lot of talent on the team. Each guy in the lineup we've talked about how familiar they are with the changing lane conditions, how to adapt to them. So they've all been around, and they're all good spare shooters.
And he just gets that one in the 2nd. Ernest Sevous now 2nd frame for team unsponsored. A convincing winner in our semifinals.
I'm impressed with how cool these guys are. They're just, like I say, I keep saying this because it's true. They're out there having a lot of fun. They're smiling, happy. I don't think there's even a sweaty palm in the group. They're just making good shots. And there's another one, an easy spare, the 10-pin.
It's one of the great aspects of team bowling, isn't it, Earl? We just saw how much the support that you see from the guys on the bench, and you see that from every team.
They're out there supporting him, but they're all saying, you get up there and shoot that 10-pin, because I don't want to do it.
You left it, you pick it.
That's right. Well, he switches balls, and he just hung on. See the big smile?
Yeah, he wasn't sure about that one.
That's what I mean. These guys are loose. They're having fun, you know. Other teams might have said, oh, man, if you'd have missed that, I'd have killed you. No, they're out there saying, oh, if you'd have missed that, you'd have walked home.
Not that far of a walk. Yeah. Washington, D.C., this club is from. That's nice to see, though, isn't it? They're having a great time. No one expected them to be here. And here they are in the championship match. Now, Chris Nicewaner, 3rd frame for Columbia Turbo Grips, our #1 seed. Oh, wouldn't go.
Here's another look at that shot. You can see he's playing between the 3rd and 4th arrow, giving the ball lots of room. This is a great shot. Just unfortunate the ball didn't quite get enough of the 4-pin to knock it down. Spare is very important. You can see in match play he was pretty successful. Only missed 2. That's 2 too many generally.
And the spare in the 3rd for Columbia Turbo Grips. Ernest Spriggs, 3rd frame for team unsponsored. Now again, our #1 seed did have the option, Earl, of where to start, and they chose the left lane, and that may become a factor later on.
It very well could be. Remember, we talked about the ball return. If you're playing deep inside, can get in your way. This team that we're watching right now, team unsponsored, it isn't a factor for them. But for the team that led this tournament, Team Columbia Turbo Grips, they've had a problem with that ball return already in match play, and they're going to have a problem with it in the 2nd game of this 2-game match.
Big strike from Spriggs in the 3rd. Our championship match is underway. #1 Columbia Turbo Grips against #3 Team Unsponsored. We'll be right back. Bill Peters, 4th frame for Columbia Turbo Grips. This match is even. And again, like the semifinals, 2 games, total pinfall in the Baker. Peters goes Brooklyn to get the strike in the 4th. Look at some of the averages this week, Earl. Qualifying averages in the regular and in the Baker match play. Columbia Turbo, very consistent. Look at the team that's already been eliminated in the Baker. Brunswick Quantums, 202. Chapman in the 4th.
You know what I think is happening? This is our 4th year of doing this, Bob, and as the team has become more and more familiar with the Baker system, they're starting to get right up there. It used to be they'd average 205 in the qualifying rounds, 190 or 191 in the Baker system and make the telecast. Now that Baker system score has got to be improved, because all the teams are familiar with how to play, how to put their lineup out there. 4 years, they will learn it. They figure it out, and now they've got it down pretty good. That's why you see, I think, the scores improving in the Baker system.
Match play records from our 3 TV finalists: Columbia Turbo 8-2, Quantum 7-3, and this team unsponsored 5-5. Look how consistent our #1 seed was, Earl. They started the Baker match play round in 4th and then jumped to 2nd and stayed 2nd or 1st all the way down. Anchorman for our #1 seed, Brian Kretzer.
Brian, a very deliberate player. You see him kind of sneaking up on the foul line, but he's a great shooter. He can get the job done. Might get a break here. I see 5 guys were hoping that pin would fall down, and 5 guys were hoping a machine would get down and get it quick.
It often comes down to a battle of the anchormen, and in this match it would be Kretzer against Norman Smith.
That Brunswick pin spotter came down, picked up that pin with a wiggle on it, put it right back down with a wiggle back on it. So you can't beat that. Only the 2-pin here.
And the spare in the 5th for Columbia Turbo Grips. Something interesting, Earl, the scoring comparisons from our last 4 World Team Challenge events.
Yeah, this is the full field now at each event, and it's kind of interesting how the first one at Hubbard, as you look at that, well, actually that's the last, I mean the first one, that's right, that's the first one. That was on a wooden surface. The last 3 have been on synthetic, so it's...
Smith in the 5th.
Here's another look at that shot. You can see, watch, again, the head pin go to the side, come back and spin around, and just the only pin in the rack that was too short right there. Not quite long enough to knock out the 9.
And the spare for Smith in the 5th for team unsponsored. A 1-pin lead for our #1 seed.
Excuse me, Bob. Very quickly, I'm going to run through the format so you folks at home that may not have watched the World Team Challenge in the past. We had 68 teams compete. They all bowled 6 games yesterday on Saturday. The top 10 teams, based on total pinfall, advanced to match play, the Baker system. They bowled 20 one-game matches, actually 2-game total pin matches plus bonus pins. The bonus pins are 15 if you win a game, 20 if you win the match. They carried their pinfall over, plus their bonus pins, and the top 3 teams then advanced to the telecast, which we are in right now.
Well, the leadoff man for Columbia, Shawn Quinn, is sure lined up on that left-hand lane. 2 strikes for him. And Clagett here in the 6th for team unsponsored. And he's got some trouble.
Ball never went into a roll. He got it going. It just kind of fell off his hand with not much on it, and never gripped the lane, never made the turn. Here's another look at it. You can see he doesn't get much on this ball. It just never, ever gets a roll till too late. Now the washout. Get it on the left side of the head pin. Try to slide the head pin into the 10. Got a chance.
Oh, wrapped around it. An open in the 6th for team unsponsored, and Columbia Turbo Grips, our top seed, with a 16-pin lead. We'll be right back. Frame for Bob Bush, and he gets the strike.
Man, it's a big one. It's a crossover, trips a 6, and it gives them a double and improves their lead, but it also kind of demoralizes their opponent, you might think. But again, these guys are having a good time. I think they're going to hang right in there, Bob, and just keep rolling it down the lane.
They seem to be the type of team, Earl, that does not get themselves into trouble.
No, and you know, they work well together, and they're making good shots, and that's the key.
From Spriggs there, or Sevous, excuse me, the strike for team unsponsored. Jack Bowers in the crowd, the proprietor at ABC West Lanes. A good job by Jack and his crew this week. All right, 8th frame now for Columbia Turbo Grips. Another look at Chris Nicewaner, 28 years old, league average of 225. His first frame, the 3rd. Chris had a spare, and now here in the 8th.
You know, the Bauer family in this area is very strong in bowling, and they do a hell of a job promoting the game. They have 3 centers in the area. And Gary and Darrell, in their own right, is two of the sons that are involved in running the centers, are extremely good players themselves, and they've been very successful in tournaments around the country.
Very deliberate team, this Columbia team. Nicewaner and their anchorman, Kretzer. And look out here in the 7th. The first open, the first blemish in this championship match.
That ball just got out to the edge of the lane. Here's a good look at it. Watch what happens when the ball gets out near the edge right there. It doesn't roll. It just keeps sliding. And that's where he expected it to pick up some friction and turn left. Didn't do it. And got to the edge of the lane where all that oil is, and it just went right off. That's great to have that oil out there when you're shooting the 10-pin because you can't hardly miss it. But when you want the ball to finish a little bit and hook, didn't do it for him. Now the lefty, and he's been bowling very well today. He can really use this hit.
Spriggs leads the 7th. Now this team's not going to go away. They make very few mistakes. They fill the frames, which is so important in the Baker. And we should have a dandy second game.
Well, if it comes down to the anchormen, which they so often do, it could be really exciting, these two guys, because both anchormen are very cool under pressure.
The spare in the 8th for Spriggs. Brings us back to Bill Peters, 9th frame for Columbia. 12-pin lead for our number 1 seed. Bill Peters, 37 years old, and back in 1982, the state match game champion in the state of Ohio. He's 2 for 2 so far in this championship match. 2 strikes in his frames.
You know, this team Columbia, you know, they've got 4 out of the 5 guys both tournaments together all the time, and the 5th one was the guy you just saw up there, Mr. Peters. He's the addition, pretty good addition.
Now Chapman. Chapman with quite the resume. 1992 national amateur champion.
Oh, got a break there. It could have been a lot worse than it ended up being. Only the 3 and the 6-pin standing. Of course, any spare on the right-hand side of the lane that can be chopped is dangerous. So here you can see him reaching under the ball return to get a ball that will not hook as much. He'll stand to the left, will cross lane, try to fit it between the 2 pins. Lots of ball speed here. Look out. Oh, my.
He went the other way, but it works.
Well, I don't think he did on purpose.
Spare in the 9th for Chapman and team unsponsored. They're hanging right there with our number 1 seed. Now back to the anchorman. The lead is 14 for Columbia. Brian Kretzer.
Chance to really extend that lead and put some pressure on Team Unknown going into the second game of this 2-game total pins match on a strike.
His eyes never left that target.
Well, never had a chance there. The ball got up high on him almost from the time it left his hand. It rolled out a little bit on the end, set up right in the middle head pin. He was fortunate to get the 7-pin out. Here's another look at it. You can see this ball is rolling right here. And when it starts to roll out early, it doesn't have a chance to hold the pocket line. Then it straightened out on the end, and everything kind of pushed into the 7-pin, or it could have been a lot worse. Well, a lot worse, I should say, not worst. But cross lane at the spare. Wants to get both pins with the ball.
Good spare shooting team, and he gets it here in the 10th for Columbia.
Well, at least he filled the frame. An opportunity went awry there. It wasn't wasted, but the possibility of going out for 215, a 20-pin difference, only 195 possibility now. And if Team Unsponsor were to double in the 10th, their anchorman would only be a 4-pin difference, where it could have been much more severe and much more troublesome for Team Unsponsored.
Last ball here for this club, and look out. Not going to go. Leaves the 10, Kretzer, as his team sits down and watches Norman Smith finish out the first game for Team Unsponsored.
They played well. They only missed the 1 spare. It was the only open they had, but this right here, Mr. Smith is the key right now. If he can get his team, catch him a double here, at least a mark. Can't afford to open. And if he just marks, they'll only be, say, 10 or 15 pins down. But if he can double, they can be within just a very few pins and show the leaders that they're still in the hunt. There's trouble. Not only did he have a tough spare here, did he leave a tough spare, but he lost a lot of count. Right. Here's another look at it. You see he's playing between the 2nd, 3rd arrow, and the ball just never, it goes too far before it can hook back. And I don't know whether that was the lane surface, the bad release, could have been a multitude of things, but just got away from him. Tough spare. If he picks it up, He'll pump his team up. They're right back in it. If he misses it, they're in trouble going into the second game. And he missed it.
And they're in a hole now after the first game. Not what you'd expect from that anchorman, Norman Smith. Team unsponsored now in a hole. They're down by 28. We'll be right back. Our number 1 seed is up by 28 after defeating Team Unsponsored in our first game, 194-166. Second game now. Remember, they've switched lanes. Graylon Clagett, first frame for Team Unsponsored.
And the ball's just not rolling up for him out there on that outside line, and whether that's because of the lane changing, the condition, we're going through maybe a little transformation of where the oil is. It's moving around a little bit for him, and as it moves down the lane, it could be more difficult to play that outside angle.
And the spare in the first for Clagett. Now let's see how our number 1 seed adjusts to this new lane. Remember, it was their choice to finish on this right-hand lane.
I like this game right here. Good solid game, good balance at the foul line, gets a lot on the bowling ball, and he's very capable. You see the big shoulders. He can get a lot of ball speed when he wants it. Shawn Quinn, he's a good player, excellent player.
He was perfect in the first game, 2 for 2.
Oh, my. How about that? Got a lot of action down there. It was exciting, but it just didn't get the job done. Watch the head pin go to the wall. Boom, right to the sidebars. Comes all the way back across the lane and kicks out the 10. They're jumping off that synthetic surface down there, that phenolic pin deck, and these reactive resin bowling balls, they get them dancing. Hang on. Look out. Major error right there. Not the way you want to start the last game of a 2-game total pin match when you got the team down. You don't want to let them back in. Tell you what can happen there. Right there, he gave away